Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Rajdeep Munir. I am the co-founder and CEO at ReWiser, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. First of all, thanks for joining in on a Saturday morning. And as you all are aware, for today's webinar, we are largely going to focus on AP under the microscope, and AP stands for Advanced Placement Courses. So I think that's going to be a major agenda for today's webinar. And I think the format would be for the first 35-40 minutes, I will walk you guys through the entire presentation. I'll explain the entire concept. And once this is done, I will also open the forum for Q&As, and we will take each and every question that you have. If in case you have any question while we are going through the presentation, please feel free to put it up in the chat section, and we will make sure that we are taking up all the questions towards the later half. I would request everyone to be on mute while we are going through the presentation for the first 30 odd minutes. Thank you. Great. Just a quick introduction about the company. So ReWiser is a high school support company, which has been assisting students worldwide achieve their high school academic goals. We largely focus for students from grade 8 to grade 12. We predominantly have two major verticals that we work with. The first one is test prep, where we help students with SATs, ACTs, and AP exam prep, PSAT prep. And then we have another vertical within the company where we do academic tutoring, and we only do that for international curriculum, which is your IGCSE, IB, and A-level subject tutoring. So these are the two major verticals. We've been doing this for the last 7 years now. We have helped about 4,000 odd families, 4,000 odd students achieve their high school dreams. We're currently operating in about 8, but we have helped students from 8+ countries and about 17+ cities across India. For today's webinar, you must be aware, these are the major topics that I'm going to touch upon. So we'll talk about what are AP examinations, what's the benefit of doing this examination, why should one be doing it, should you be even doing it or not, what is the structure of this examination, how does the scoring works, how does the scaling works, how do you figure out if you've decided that you want to do an AP, how do you figure out which is the right AP for your child. I think these are a couple of things that we're going to talk about in today's webinar. And then towards the later half, just for the last 5 minutes, I'll also talk you through how ReWiser as a company can help you prepare for your AP exam prep. With that, let me deep dive into a slightly broader thing. I think since we are talking about AP, I'm assuming that most of the audience who is here present today for the webinar is looking to send their kids abroad, or the students are looking to go outside of India. And I'm assuming predominantly US, UK, Canada, these are the geographies that we are looking at. So first of all, let me quickly help you understand how our Indian admissions are different from, let's say, admissions outside of India, right? So when you look at admissions within India, they're predominantly either based on some sort of entrance exam. For example, you write JEE for IITs, you write NEET for medicine, and so on and so forth. Unlike that, in US or outside of India, it is not based on just one particular test. One particular test is just one parameter. Apart from that, there are multiple other things that they are going to look at when they're looking at giving you admissions abroad, right? So that's one major difference. Second, I think in India, when you're looking at admissions, they're largely focused on your 12th grade scores, right? For example, you're applying to Delhi University, you're applying to Bangalore University or anywhere else, they're largely looking at your grade 12 scores, right? However, if you really look at US, that's not how it works. Their academics works very, very differently. I think they're looking at the overall academics per se, starting from grade 9 to 12, right? So I generally say that your study abroad largely has four major pillars. The first one is academics. In academics, we are largely looking at grade 9th, grade 10th, grade 11th, and grade 12th actual school scores. And then we have second pillar, which is the standardized test scores, which includes your SATs, which includes your ACTs, APs, IELTS, TOEFL. All of that is part of your standardized test prep. And for today's webinar, we will do a complete deep dive into the APs, which is part of the standardized test prep. The third major pillar that you really need to focus on is profile building. Now, what is profile building per se? So for example, if you're looking to go outside of India and you want to do a computer science major, there are multiple activities through which you will showcase to the college that you're good in a particular subject. And this is the reason why you want to pursue that major, right? So that is what you would do for profile building. Now that could be done through different ways. It could be done through by writing research paper, by doing internship, by writing blogs, by doing community service. So there are multiple things that you could do to build your profile. And then there is a fourth pillar, which is college application, which largely comes in grade 12, right? Which includes shortlisting of universities, writing essays, letter of recommendations, and so on and so forth. So that's part of your college application process. So these are the four major pillars that you really need to think about when you're looking to go outside of India. Doesn't matter whether it's UK, US, Canada, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, all of them will have certain role to play, though the weightage of each of these four pillars might vary from country to country, right? For example, in US, all of them are equally important. However, if you look at UK, they are more driven towards academics. They are largely looking at your academic scores, right? So I think that's one of the major difference that you will encounter or that you will figure it out, right? So I think that's an important part. Now with that, let me deep dive into today's topic that we wanted to deep dive, which is your AP examination. So I think the first thing that we want to understand, and I'm sure a lot of people have this confusion that what is AP examination, right? So let me give us some bit of a history, right? So I think what ended up happening in US, there's an organization called College Board. And I'm sure if you guys are talking about APs today, you have some context about SAT as an exam, right? So in US, there's an organization called College Board, which conducts this exam called SAT. It's the same organization which also conducts these exams called advanced placement courses or advanced placement exams, which are known as AP exams, right? So it's the same organization which conducts it. Now, why does it came into existence, right? I think that is an important part. So if you really look at it, 2-3 years before, there used to be something called subject SATs, which was offered by College Board. So you write an SAT, which is English and maths, and then you write subject SATs, which could be maths, physics, chemistry, bio, to show your subject level knowledge. However, 2 years back, College Board shut down their subject SAT component. And the moment that happened, AP started gaining more popularity. Not that AP was not there before this, AP still existed even before that. But in India, students were not writing AP so often. But the moment subject SATs were gone, AP started gaining more and more popularity because AP helps you to showcase your knowledge in various subjects, because AP happens in almost about 20-25 plus subjects across India itself, right? So that's one history why AP has started becoming more and more popular in the last 2 years, and why you probably would not have heard about it a lot more often earlier, right? Now, what is AP if you really look at it? In US, unlike in India, where we have an IGCSE curriculum, IB curriculum, CBSE, ICSE, state board, we have a lot of curriculums. But in US, they don't have any national curriculum. What ends up happening, every state will follow their own curriculum. And when they're doing that, they wanted something which could act as a layer, which helps the colleges to figure out where students stand. And that's where AP started coming into existence. As we speak today, most of the colleges in US allow students to write AP examination. So students actually take AP subjects while they are in school itself. So they do that in grade 9, 10th, and 11th and 12th. When I'm talking about US education system, right? Now in India, because we don't have AP as a curriculum being offered, we write this as a private candidate. AP happens only once a year, which is in the month of May. APs are considered to be a college level exams, which are taken on specific subjects, which you have either done in high school or you want to show to the college that you're good in these subjects, right? And as I said, it happens only once a year, which is in the month of May. And hence, unlike SAT, which happens 7 times a year, here your planning becomes super important because you cannot miss out on the timeline. The moment you miss out on the timeline, you lose out an entire year if in case you plan to do an AP exam. There are currently over 38 AP test options across the globe I'm talking about. In India, there are about 20-25 which are being offered. These APs are largely divided into 7 major subject categories, out of which you can select which is the right fit for you. And they are categorized in these, right? AP Capstone Diploma Program, Arts, English, History, Social Science, Maths, Computer Science, Sciences, AP World Language and Culture. And each of these subjects categories will have multiple subjects within them. And that's all of that put together will make 38 subjects in total. So that's a brief background about what APs are. Now, I think one of the most important questions that everybody will have, okay, we have understood what APs are, but can you help us understand why should I even write it, right? I mean, why should I even bother writing it? I already have a lot of other things to do. I have school exams to prepare for, I have SATs to write. Now, why this new exam, right? So I think, let me be very, very clear here. It is not a mandatory exam. It is not mandatory for any student to do APs for getting admission, whether it's US, UK, Canada, or anywhere else, right? So that's the most important part, right? You are only doing it for certain reason, and let's try and deep dive into what are those reasons, right? So one of the most important reasons why students in India write APs is because they want to, APs help students to stand out in their college admission process. For example, in a class of, let's say if I'm in a particular school and in my class I have 100 students, and out of those 100, we know how the scoring works. So let's say if there are 10 students who are scoring about 90%, how do you differentiate between these 10 students, right? So if I've done more than what my peers have done, it genuinely helps me to stand out in that entire application process. So that's one of the major reasons why a lot of students end up writing AP exams. Now, I can also further subdivide into another thing, which is, are you coming from a CBSE or national back curriculum, or are you coming from international curriculum? There is again a difference between the two. When you're coming from a CBSE, ICSE state board background, it also is important for you to do APs, or rather more important for you to do APs than if you're coming from an international background. And let me cover a couple of more points here in terms of benefit, and then I'll come back to this point back again why. The second important reason why some of these students write AP is because it helps you to earn college credit. And very, very important point here. I don't know how many of you are aware, in US, the US education system works on college credits, right? So let's say if I get admission into mechanical engineering in Stanford, if I have to graduate in 4 years, I need to get 120 college credits, right? So every subject, let's say math will have 5 credits, English will have 2 credits, computer science will have 4 credits. So every subject will have certain credits. As and when I keep passing these exams, I will start gaining those credits. And once I have 120 credits, I can graduate any day. So that's how the US admission, the US college process works. So what we are saying here is, if you are doing AP exams while you are in grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, you actually earn those college credits while you are in India itself. That means, A, you don't have to do these courses while you are in college, so because you've already done while you are in school itself. B, it helps you to save fees, because every college credit earned in US, you have to pay for every credit, right? Every credit is almost about $1,000 to $1,500. If you've done those courses while you are in India, you're saving that much of cost, right? That's the second advantage. Third, it also helps you to graduate early. Now, how does that happen? So as I said, if you've done certain AP courses, in that particular case, you are not supposed to repeat those courses in college, and hence you can take the courses that you would have taken in second year, which helps you to graduate much faster. So you actually save the living cost. I mean, your college cost will still remain the same because you are still paying for the college credit, but because you're graduating early, your cost of living will go down, right? So that's another thing. Some students actually use it in a different way. They don't want to graduate early, rather they want to take few other courses which could act as a minor for them, right? Some students end up doing minor in a particular subject within the same 4-year itself. So these are, and then as the last option says, it also helps you to earn academic scholarship, because the moment you showcase that you're doing AP exams, you're showcasing that you are better than a lot of your peers, and you are gone through a much more rigorous academic curriculum, it helps you to gain certain level of scholarship. So these are different benefits. Let me point it out. The first, to stand out in college application process, to earn college credits, to save money, to graduate early, or also, if not graduate early, then probably do a minor in any additional subject in the given time frame itself. So these are different benefits of writing AP exam. However, remember I told you I'll talk about the difference between international curriculum versus the Indian board. Any student who is doing an international curriculum, which is an IB or an IGCSE or A-level curriculum, they might come back and say, hey, you know what, Rajdeep, we anyways get college credit. So I'm not sure how many of you are aware, if you do an IB course, you get a certain score, you actually earn college credit for the IB scores as well. And you're absolutely right about it. So that's one of the reasons. So if you're coming from a CBSE, ICSE, or any state board background, if you want to compete with the international curriculum students or come at par with those curriculum students, then there is always an advantage if you do an AP course, because you end up earning college credits, because otherwise you don't get any college credits for your CBSE, ICSE, ISC curriculum at all. So that's one of the important thing why students coming from national board needs to think about AP very, very seriously. Second, the question comes in then, maybe, I mean, I'd be bored, then maybe I don't have to write AP exams. And I think there it becomes super important to figure out why do you want to write APs, right? I think that is an important criteria. As I've said in the beginning, it helps you to stand out in college admission process. So one of the reasons could be that, hey, you know what, I've taken these 3 subjects as an HL. However, I'm also good in this subject, but I can't take this in school because my school allows only 6 subjects to be taken. So in that case, I could actually do a AP in that particular course to showcase my interest and my knowledge in that particular subject by doing an AP. So that could be one reason why students who are coming from international curriculum ends up doing the AP exams. In some cases, it could also be because like for example, if you're not doing well in a particular subject in school for whatever reason, but you still feel you are good at this particular subject, you can write AP exam, score well, and show it to the college. Hey, you know what? I'm good at this particular subject, just that I couldn't do well for XYZ reasons. So, right, there are various reasons why different students write AP, and hence it is a very, very important personalized one-on-one process, right? So I think what we generally recommend is, feel free to reach out to us after this webinar. Happy to sit with each one of you individually to figure out which is the right AP for you. Should you be doing an AP or not? And when should you be doing it? I think these are the 3 important questions that you really need to ask yourself, and see if I'm able to answer those questions by the end of it in generic terms. Coming back to this, these are different benefits why you should be writing. And let's try and understand, what's the structure of this exam. So largely these AP exams are about 2 to 3 hours long exam. There are broadly 2 sections that you will encounter. One of them is multiple choice question, which all of us are aware how it works. Second is a free response question. That is important. So unlike SAT, where you have only and only free response question, multiple choice questions, here you have free response. That means you have a question, and just like your school exam, you have to write your entire answer as well. And hence it takes a lot longer for your answers to get evaluated and you get the score. So it is definitely a lot more difficult than doing an SAT or an ACT exam, because you also have a free response question here. So that's the structure of this exam. Now, how does the scoring work? So let's try and figure that out. AP is scored on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best. That means, that's the highest that you can achieve. 4 is also acceptable. Anything below 4 is not, 3 is also qualified, but it's not great. You may not get any college credits to get a 3 out of 5. So I think you have to be, if you're writing an AP, do it only if you think you can get a 4 or a 5, or keep your target that you need to get a 4 or a 5 at least if you really want to write an AP exam, right? So that should be your goal or your target that you want to achieve. Now, I think let's try and understand a couple of things. And I think the bigger question that I want to answer next. So we have understood what are APs, what's the benefit of writing that exam. We've looked at the structure of exams. We've looked at how the scoring works. Now, I think in the next couple of slides, I want to answer a very, very important question here. So I have understood what APs are, and I think I'm interested in writing it. I understood the benefit, and I know this is the reason why I want to write it. Now, can you help me understand which is the right AP? So the next couple of minutes, I'm going to spend time on helping you guys out. How do you figure out which is the right AP for you or for your child, right? So there are, I would say, broadly 3 things that we are going to discuss under this particular category. The first of them is, how does the scoring works, right? Because I want to choose a subject where it's slightly easier to score as well, because I don't want to write an AP and get a 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5. I want to get a 5 out of 5, right? So let's look at the AP score distribution for the last, I think for 2020 is what I have picked up, and see how many students get a particular score. So let's look at these, and let's focus on the ones which are marked with green and red, and I'll figure out what inference that we are going to derive out of it. So if you really look at English, AP English Literature and Composition, you only have 9.3% student globally who get a 5 on 5. If you look at sciences, AP Biology only 9.5%, AP Physics 1 only 8.8%. However, look at this, AP Physics C Mechanics and AP Physics C Electricity and Magnetism, almost 40% students who write the AP exam for these 2 subjects get a 5 on 5. That means it's easier to score a 5 on 5 if I'm choosing a AP Physics C Mechanics or AP Physics C Electricity and Magnetism. So I think very, very high probability of me getting a 5 on 5, and hence this subject could be on your top of the list. Let's look at the next category, maths and computer science. AP Calculus BC, almost about 45% student got a 515 in 2020. And I'm not saying it's the standard data. This will continue to change every year, but it won't change drastically, right? So that means it's easier to score 515 in Calculus BC. So I would definitely want to consider this as a subject. However, on the other hand, if I look at AP Computer Science Principles, there is only 11%, 10% student who are getting 515. So it might be difficult to get a 515. So if I really want to pick this subject, then I obviously need to put in more efforts to get a 515 in this subject. The other category was history and social science. Let's take one example here. AP Microeconomics, almost about 23% students get a 515. AP World History, only about 9% students get a 515. That means if I'm choosing a world history, I need to be very, very careful that I really need to work hard to get that 515. However, AP Microeconomics could be a low-hanging fruit. And if I have to choose between world history and comparative government and politics, maybe I might opt for this if I don't have any preference, because here there is almost about 24% student who are getting 515 versus the AP World History where there's only 9% student who are getting a 515, right? Or I can pick a psychology where there's almost about 23% student getting a 515. I would request everyone to be on mute, please. Thanks. Interesting. So what I wanted to kind of see here is, if you really look at it, if you have understood it correctly, there are certain subjects where it's easier to get a 515 versus a couple of other subjects where it's difficult to get a 515. And hence it becomes very, very important in terms of how you decide your subject, right? So that could be one of the important factors that you're picking up when you're selecting your AP subject. So that's one. Now let's try and figure out the second one, which is how do you find the right AP? So when you go to AP College Board website, there are ways on which you can go to this particular place where you can figure out if you write the major that you want to do. Based on that, it will suggest what are the APs which are relevant to this particular major. So that means, for example, let's take an example here. Let's select a major and let's select a subject area, science, math, technology. And let's make a selection, right? So let's say I'm interested in probably doing maybe mechanical engineering. Can I see it? Yeah. Okay. It's right there. So yes. So let's say I'm interested in doing mechanical engineering and I want to know what are the APs which are related to mechanical engineering, or anybody who wants to do mechanical engineering, what are the APs they should be looking at? And here is the list of 8 APs: calculus AB, BC, biology, chemistry, computer science. And similarly, you could also figure out what are those career choices which are linked to this AP major. So if you're doing a mechanical engineering, there are these 8 AP courses which are relevant for you. And these are the 7 career options, which could be a drafter, industrial designer, mechanical engineer, sales engineer, aircraft pilot, aerospace engineer, which are linked to this particular major. So that is the second way for you to figure out what is the right AP subjects for you. So the first we did through the scoring. Second, we did it by looking at the major that you're trying to do in college, right? Let's assume there are certain students who are still not very, very clear what is the major that you want to do, right? In that case, there is maybe a third way to do it. And the third way is by going through the colleges. Are you very clear what colleges you want to target to, right? So we can do that. So you go to a particular link. Here you could actually find your college. So let's say I have a list of 20 colleges that I want to target, right? And let's say one of them is Stanford. So I'll go and, put Stanford as the college name here. It'll give me the list of all the AP courses with Stanford accepts as of today. And a very, very interesting thing which you can note here. So I spoke about AP Calculus BC. You could also see something called equivalent courses here, right? Now, what is this? I want to emphasize something on this. So let's take an example of AP Calculus BC here. So if you're doing an AP Calculus BC, and you get 515 in AP Calculus BC, you actually earn 10 college credits. That means almost about $15,000 saved. Second, I spoke to you about the college courses. This Maths 19, Maths 20, Maths 21. These are semester 1, semester 2, and semester 3 maths courses that one has to do if you are going to Stanford to pursue anything in Stanford. If in case the child has gotten a 515 in AP Calculus BC, they get 10 college credits. B, they can skip all these 3 math courses in their college and can take some other courses apart from these courses. Those were the advantages I was talking about. Similarly, just to look at another example, if you look at AP Calculus BC, and if you get a 4 and 5 instead of 5 and 5, instead of getting 10 college credit, you still get 8 college credits, and you can skip maths 19 and maths 20. That means you can skip the SEM 1, SEM 2 maths courses, however, not the SEM 3 math course, right? So I think that's where things are different in terms of you trying to figure out which is the right subject that you really need to pick. So I think 3 things that we discussed. One was based on the scoring. Second is based on the major that you are planning to go for. If you're not very sure about the major as well, then third is maybe based on the college that you're planning to look for. Maybe that's other way for you to figure out what is the right AP. Even then, I'm pretty sure, some of you may find it difficult, and actually a lot of you may find it difficult to find it out. As I said, post this webinar, we will offer a free 30-minute consultation session. Feel free to reach out to our team. They will have a meeting with you on a 30-minute to try and understand a couple of factors. One is we need to understand which curriculum student is doing. We need to understand what is the major that you're looking to go for. And then based on that, help you chalk out a plan that we will also talk about here in general. So yeah, I think that's about how do you pick the right AP course. Now, a couple of other things. How do you ace the AP test, right? So start early, start as soon as possible, because as I said, AP happens only once a year, which is in the month of May. The registration deadline is mid of November. So if you want to write AP this year, November mid is the last date for you to register. The late registration happens in March, which is the last date, and that's only applicable if there are seats available in your cities. Otherwise, you might have to travel to other cities to write exam. So start as soon as possible. Utilize the study material because there's less available. So figure out the right set of material, make groups, because I think when you study in groups, this might help, because remember, there is no school which is kind of guiding you, or you try and take help from companies like us, where you get a guided structured study program. You take practice tests, write as many practice tests as possible. You can go to the College Board website. There are actually a lot of practice tests which the College Board has released themselves. So you can actually do a self-prep and write the practice test from there. Make a schedule, try and stick to that schedule, because as I said, it happens only once a year and it's super important for you to do it. Ask for help. Ask for help if at any point of time, as I said, unlike SET, you cannot write it multiple times. So you only have certain shot at it. Please don't take a chance. If in case you feel at any point of time your prep is not going as per what you want it to be, ask for help. I think it's super important. Study with other students. As I said, study in group, because it's difficult to find the material. If some of you are studying together, you might be able to find the best material possible, maybe together, right? So I think that's helpful. These are a couple of tips, I think generic tips in terms of how do you ace these exams. Now, as I said, I think we're going to talk about the timelines, which are super, super important. I think this is taking us back to our initial slide where we started it from, where we said there are 4 major pillars. The first of them was academics. So we are looking at academics from grade 9, grade 10th, grade 11th, and grade 12. So all of your 4th grade school scores are super, super, super important. That's one. Second is profile development, which is happening again from grade 9, 10th, 11th, and 12th, that through which you are showcasing to the college what you're good at. The third component that you have that we spoke about is admission college application process, which happens only in grade 12. So you can leave that for your final years. The fourth part is your test prep, which is your SATs, ACTs, and AP exam prep. Now, when can you write your AP? That's an important question. So AP scores are valid for 5 years. Please note, AP scores are valid for 5 years. Student can write APs as early as grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12th. So we recommend students starting as early as grade 9th. But yes, you have to pick the right AP subject when you're in grade 9th and 10th. You cannot be writing AP calculus in grade 9 because you're not going to ace that exam for sure. Right? So you need to be very, very careful which is the right AP that you need to pick if in case you have decided to write the AP. So I think this is going to be your decision framework after this webinar today. I think you as a family should go back and sit and first figure out, do I want to do this, right? I mean, if I want to do it, for what benefit do I want to do it, right? Once you have made that decision, and if the answer is yes, then you move to the next part. If the answer is no, then you close this chapter. But if the answer is yes, that yes, I see a benefit, I want to do it, then the next step is great. Then which is the AP that I want to do? That's the second question. Once you have figured that out, then the next question comes in, when should I be doing those APs? In which grade should I be doing those APs, right? So I think that's the next question that comes in. So these are the three important decision framework that you should start thinking, probably post this webinar today, and try and figure out the answers. If you need any help from our side, as I said, feel free to reach out to our team. They will be dropping you a mail by end of the day today with the recording of this webinar. Reach out to them, they would be reaching out to you as well through the phone calls. If in case you are interested, feel free to set up a call with them. If not, you can politely decline it and they will not call you back. So yes, I think these are the standard timelines that we really look at for the AP exams. Now with that, we have covered all of that. And I think the last component I wanted to cover was our offering, how ReWiser as a company really helps in this entire AP prep. So as a company, we offer two programs for the AP students. You have a one-on-one program that you could do with our faculties. You have a group program that you could do with us. We also have another program called a self-paced program, where you don't want to study with the faculty. You just need the entire set of material, everything from our side. There is that course available as well, which is called as AP self-paced course. So you can go and look at our AP self-paced course on our website. The second is one-on-one and group training. And how does that work? There are roughly about 40 to 60 hours of live online tutoring that happens. Our program generally starts at around September, October timeframe, where every week there will be one session of 2 hours each. So for every subject that you sign up, there is a 2-hour sessions every week that will happen. It will continue to happen until you write your exam in the month of May. For every 2 hour of session, there are about 2 hours of assignment that you need to do. So we are generally looking at about 4 hours of time commitment from your end every week per subject. Post every unit, there is a unit test that we evaluate you for, and based on that, we figure out how much have you understood in that unit and are we good enough to go to the next unit. And we obviously share these reports with the parent. Once this gets done, we move to full length test, where we conduct at least 6+ full length mock tests, which is happening towards the last part. So by March 15 is when we cover off all the topics, and the last 2 months are focused towards just doing the full length tests, which are being solved live with the faculty. Along with that, you also get our online self-paced courses for additional practices. You anyways have additional doubt clarification sessions that you can opt for while you are in the entire program. So it's roughly about 6 to 7 month, 8-month journey that you go through with us, with a time commitment of about 3 to 4 hours every week. With a time commitment of 3 to 4 hours every week is what we're looking at. With that, I think we have. I would request everyone to be on mute, please. Thanks. So there are AP subjects which are being offered by us. So as I said, there are multiple subjects which are being offered within India, but as a company, we offered about 13 subjects. These are a list of some of the subjects that we offer. We are currently in the process of adding 3 more subjects for this year. These are the subjects that we had offered last year. AP World History, AP Environmental Science would be the 2-3 more APs that we are going to add starting this year as well. So I think these are the APs that we will be offering right now. With that, we have covered up all the topics that we wanted to cover for today. Before anybody wants to leave, I would like to thank each and every one of you for attending this session. And with that, I would start taking up the questions from the chat. I already see a lot of questions here. I can see somebody has raised hand as well. Thanks, Sanjay Shukla. Let me just go through these questions first, and then maybe I'll come back to you, Mr. Sanjay, if you don't mind, if that's okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So I have a question here from Dakshayani. Do IGCSE also get credits? Dakshayani, yes. So not for IGCSE, because IGCSE is 9th and 10th. When you get into 11th and 12th, I'm assuming you're talking about AS and A level. Yes, for AS and A level as well, you do get credits. I think Sharat, who's our admissions head, he has dropped his number in the chat. I would request him to drop it again. Feel free to reach out to him if you would like to set up a one-on-one call with him. Another question from Mrs. Chandrakala. Is AP given importance by colleges in India? Not at all, ma'am. There is no college in India which is looking at AP courses. So if you're very, very clear about India, then AP is probably not the right exam you want your child to waste time on. Another question from Sunskrita. It also, sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong, Sanskrita. It also depends on the student's strengths also, right? Definitely. I think, I probably have missed writing that out. So I think the most important part is you need to pick the subject of your strength, because you also want to do well in that subject, right? So that definitely is the case. Website name, please. This is a message from Pooja Panchal. Pooja, website for what? I'm not very sure. Maybe you can reach out to Ritvik, drop him a personal message, and he'll probably be able to help, or else write a message again and I can probably answer. Another question from Soham. For how many years is the AP score valid? I hope I've answered that question, Soham. It's valid for 5 years. Another question from Crafting Careers. How to get help to prepare AP English and Psychology? So as we said, we at ReWiser offer help for both these subjects. Feel free to reach out to Ritvik. He'll be able to help you out. We have specific programs for both these courses. We do help with the APs for English and Psychology. Shiva Nuti, are there any minimum training hours that the student need to evidence before taking a test, or is it complete self-study? I'm assuming, Shiva, you're talking about our program. We have both the courses. We have a self-study program. We have a all-engaged program, the full course as well.
Yeah, hi Rajdeep, Shiva here. Can I clarify that?
Yes, please, Shiva.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to understand is, do they need to take any training hours, either online or whatever, before they can take the exam?
Got it.
Or is it just applying and taking the exam?
It's just applying and taking the exam, Shiva. There is no mandatory teaching hours that you need to go through or training hours that you need to go through to write the actual AP exam.
Okay, because I heard it the other way, so I was just trying to clarify.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do that, right? So I think these two things are very different, right? So if in case you need support, right, if the child feels they are not ready for this exam on their own, and if they need help, then they can go through these training hours with us. But it is not a mandatory requirement. You can do the APs on your own with your own prep as well.
Okay, so College Board per se doesn't offer any let's say online class or anything which the students need to take, right? That's not the case.
Correct. That's not the case. But I think for the free resource, you have Khan Academy, where you can find some level of courses there, which the child can go through to start off the prep at least.
Got you. Thanks, Ram.
Thanks, Shiva. Another question from Abhishek. How many attempts can be given for AP? You can write as many attempts as you want, Abhishek, but ideally don't write more than 1 for 1 AP is what I recommend. But if in case you don't get the desired score and it is an important AP for you to write, then you should write it again. Another question from Sangeeta. How many AP one should take? Great question. And I think I missed that part. So I think you can take as many APs as you want, but don't take APs at the expense of your school academics. Your school academics are more and more important. If you're getting a 70% in school and writing 4 APs, that's not going to help. I would say try and get a 90% in school, maybe write only 2 APs. That's one. Second, if you are capable enough and if you can write 3 APs, you become AP scholar. And if you write 4 APs and if you do well, you become AP honors. So if you can target, if the child is in grade 9th and 10th, you definitely have time. So you can target for 3 or 4 APs, which will help you to get that level of, get that certification of scholar or honors. So that's what I would recommend. Another question from Pooja, which is the right AP for grade 9 level student hoping to pursue engineering? Pooja, again, I think there are a couple of other things that we need to know in terms of the curriculum, right? But if I have to give you a generic answer, since if you're looking at engineering as a major, right? In that case, don't try and do anything which is related to engineering directly, right? I would say maybe you could look at doing statistics. You could look at doing psychology. You could look at doing world history. And now maybe your question would be that, Rajdeep, none of them is related to engineering. Then why are you asking me to do these courses, right? So not sure if you're aware, but, US as a geography loves to see humanities courses, right? So even if you're going for engineering, they would want you to see if you can do something in humanities. It adds other dimension to your overall profile, right? So hence, I generally recommend that if you're looking at engineering, grade 9 level student, you should be trying to do an AP, which is slightly non-traditional, or let's say more on the humanities side APs, right? That's what I would recommend at this point of time. Some students also end up writing computer science because, computer science as a subject is something which is more of a skill based. So some students kind of prepare early and write that as well. So that could also be an option that you could look at. Another question from Shiva: why is PSAT recommended only for US citizens? Okay, so Shiva, I think probably this is coming from one of my old webinars, I'm assuming. So PSAT is not recommended only for US citizen. What I generally say that if you are writing a PSAT and you are in grade 11 and you are a US citizen, so this and not or, then that grade 11 PSAT is also known as NMSQT, which is National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. And hence, it is recommended for the US citizen to write it in grade 11, to write PSAT in grade 11 if you want to participate in the NMSQT. So that's the reason why I recommend US citizens to write it in grade 11.
Okay. Yeah. Rajdeep actually asked the question because against PSAT you have put in brackets US citizens. I was just trying to understand that.
Oh, okay. That's great. I mean, I did not go in detail into it, but if you go to one of my old webinar, I think we did 2 weeks back, one more on ST PSAT. So PSAT, I think what I was trying to display there is you could write PSAT in 9th, you could write it in 10th, you could write it in 11th, but in 11th, you should only write if you're a US citizen.
Okay, got it, Rajdeep.
Yeah. Okay, great. Another question from Shweta: what is the cost of AP exam? I think last year it was about 12,500 or 13,500 rupees per subject for writing the exam, for registering for the exam. Another question from Prasan Patil: do you cover all AP computer science and calculus, BCS, etc.? This is a good slide. Thanks. Thanks for the compliment, Prasan. Yes, we do cover all the calculus, AP calculus and computer science. Please do note, there are 2 AP computer science, but only AP computer science application is offered in India, not the principles, because principle involves practical work and you cannot do practical work outside. So please don't look at principle, only look at application. Abhishek, AP pre-calculus. Yes, we do AP pre-calculus as well. But again, you can't write AP pre-calculus. It's only for the student who are in US who ends up writing the AP pre-calculus. Do the dates clash for calculus with CS, for example? Question from Prasan. No, Prasan, they will never have dates which are clashing with the other AP subjects. So don't worry about that. Even if for some reason, if that happens, they always have a late testing date, which is 2 weeks later in the same month of May. So even if there's a repeat, you can always apply for the late testing and you can write one of the subjects later. So that would help. Another question from Pooja: fees of AP classes offered by you. So as I said, Pooja, we have multiple programs and all the programs will have different fee structure. Feel free to reach out to Ritvik. Ritvik, please note Pooja's name and maybe reach out to her and help her with all the details. Another question from Ria regarding credit points. How does it work? Please clarify again. You'll have to be a bit more specific, Ria, what exactly you want to understand on the credit. Maybe if you can frame your question or, maybe unmute yourself and ask your question directly. Happy to answer that. Another question from Rakhi: if you are an IB board, do you need to do AP? Rakhi, I think I did try to answer that question in the webinar. It all depends why are you writing AP, right? So I think it should start from why, right? Why am I spending time on this? So one of the reasons was standing out in college application process, right? So if you don't have to do the APs for college credits, because anyways getting college credits through the IB curriculum, right? However, to stand out in college application, yes, you can definitely do IB, definitely do APs. I've had students in the past who, let's say you're doing 3 HLs. Now you want to showcase one more subject where you're good at, but you can't do it in school because you wanted to do a regular diploma. Now that particular subject, you could do it in AP, right? And showcase your subject, showcase your knowledge in that particular subject in AP, right? So that is one of the ways. The second, as I said, is if you're not doing well in a particular subject and you want to showcase to the college you're still good at it, you could probably do an AP for that subject, right? So that is another way of doing it, right? So I think these are different reasons why any IB students also end up doing an AP courses. On the question from Prerna, how can the students manage the school course and the AP course? That's why I said it's only for the students who want to stand out in the application process, who are really targeting those top 20, 30 universities. If you're not, then you don't have to write it, right? So if in case you're not looking for those top 30, 40, 50 universities, then please don't even look at the AP courses, right? Because it is not meant for everyone, right? I have said this in the beginning itself. It is not a mandatory exam. It is only for the ones who want to stand out in the entire process. So yes,
Well,
I think
sorry for a question, I'm just barging in.
Right.
But top 30, 40, 50 universities, that pretty much covers everyone. I mean, Rajdeep, you know about it, 30, 40, 50 universities. I'm sure there is hardly anybody from India who's going, because beyond 30, 40, 50 universities, it is the fake universities which come in. So I'm not really sure if it is, an accurate information. My apologies for being so straightforward with this.
no problem, Sailesh. I think it's all about point of view. So first of all, I think there are a couple of factual information there, right? I think I've known enough students, and if you really look at it statistically, there are enough students who go after 30, 40 universities as well. Anything in top 100 is generally a very, very good universities to look at. And if you look at their endowment fund, you'll probably be able to get that data straight. So I think that's one. Second is, as I said, what I meant when I said 30, 40 universities, it's not mandatory even there. It's not even mandatory, let's say, in top 10 universities, right? It's only about how do you want to stand out in your entire process, right? So somebody would say, okay, I'm going to go and focus on SAT, get a 1580, write a research paper, and done with it, right? Somebody else would come and say, hey, you know what? I'm really good at a particular sports. Maybe, I'm a national level player. So that student will end up just doing that. They don't even have to think about APs. Now there's a third student which says, hey, you know what? I don't have any social extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities. I'm not interested in anything but academics. Academics is my strength, right? In that case, you might want to look at AMC. You might want to look at APs. You might want to look at Olympiads, right? So I think it all depends on, as an individual, for the child, you need to figure out what is the right profile for the child and fit those activities there, right? You can't be asking them to start playing a particular sports just because you want to build that profile, right? So the idea here is, that's why I said in the beginning, right? It is not mandatory even in the top 10 college, right? I've had students who have gone into MIT with zero, AP courses. On the other hand, there are students who will do a lot of APs and try and stand out. But unfortunately, US is it's not very black and white in terms of the admission process, which will tell you that it is mandatory per se. So yeah, I think
if I could just put an add-on question to that, in your experience, let's say students who have gone to the top 20, okay, over the last 1 to 3 years, doesn't really matter. Okay? Let's assume 100 students went to the top 20. In your experience, what percentage of them would have taken APs?
What percentage? Okay, so I think there are again 2 layers to it, Sailesh, right? So if you really look at it, a lot of international school curriculum students don't take the APs, right? Whereas CBSE and ICSE, everybody would have taken. I would say 100% of them would have taken APs in that case. Whereas in case of international curriculum students, very few would have taken the APs on that side, right?
Got it. Okay, sorry, slightly unrelated question. I apologize for asking the question. If you don't want to answer, feel free not to.
No.
But again, same example. Out of 100 students getting into top 20, what percentage would be international board versus Indian board? Do you have any clue?
Okay, I mean, I know where you're taking this, but so Sailesh, I strongly
sorry, just to interrupt.
Sorry,
yeah,
this is Naru here. It's not Shailesh.
Yeah, last 2 questions were not from Shailesh.
I am really sorry. Okay, yeah. So sorry, you said Naru, right?
That is correct.
Naru. Okay, yeah. So so Naru, basically, if you really look at it, right, I strongly believe, right, that whether you are from a CBSE curriculum, ICSE curriculum, state board curriculum, you have an equal chance to get into a top universities. It's just that you might have to do certain things differently. And AP is one of those things. And the reason being, think about it, IB as a curriculum is recognized globally, right? So there are a lot of schools across the globe which are following IB as a curriculum. It's easier for US to benchmark IB as a course, right? However, it's difficult for US to benchmark CBSE as a curriculum when they are looking at a student from India versus China versus Korea, right? And hence, they find it difficult to figure out 95% in CBSE means what in Korea and what in China, right? And hence, when you do an AP course, which is something that they understand a lot more. If a child gets a 515 or a 415, they really understand whether it's a Korean student, Singaporean student, or Hong Kong or Indian or Bangladeshi. If they got a certain score, where do they stand, right? So for me, I think the important part is it doesn't really matter which curriculum you're coming from. You still have a good chance to get into a top university. It's just that you might have to do things differently. However, if you want to play a lot more safer, then you might as well just go to international curriculum, because there are a lot of things which are being designed within the curriculum itself. For example, these indirect form of APs of getting credits, right? When you're doing IB as an HL course. So that's the way to look at it. I honestly don't think, I probably may not have that data exactly in terms of, how many were international versus Indian, because it also depends on how many students actually applied versus how many got in, right? The number of students who applied to US from Indian colleges, from the Indian curriculum is far lesser as opposed to, let's say, you pick up any international school cohort, any school, the number would be much higher.
Fair enough. Thank you for answering the question.
Thanks, Naru. Sorry. Okay, coming back, I think we have another question from Rayan. How many APs do you need for a top 100 ranked school in the US? I hope, between me and Naru, I think we have answered this question, Rayan. It is not mandatory. You can apply to top 100 ranked colleges without even writing even a single AP. It's all about, the more higher ranked university you look at, that's where the competition becomes tougher, and that's where you want to write these exams, right? And again,
it seems like 4 is the golden number, as you said earlier, right? You get the...
Yes. 4
is a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, but I think the reason why I'm not emphasizing on that, I wouldn't want a 11th grader to do it, because I know they will fall flat if they try and do that now, because I have an audience here in 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th, right? Because if you are in 11th already, you only have one shot at it. And I don't think anybody can handle 4 APs in one single year. Like, that's going to be really, really difficult, right? But if you are in grade 9, then you can definitely space it out, right? So you could do 1, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 1, and things like that, right? So I would say 4 ideal number, but if you're in grade 11, maybe that's not the ideal number for you. Don't try and aim for it, because you might end up not doing well in any of them, and it might become counterintuitive. Also, if you have to at any point of time choose between AP and your school academics, please put school academics at a very, very higher preference, right? As I said in the past, 70% with 3 APs versus 90% with 0 AP, they will still prefer 90% with 0 AP. So please make sure your school academics are good, and then you are looking at the APs. Another question from GP. Thank you for the comprehensive run through of the topic. Oh, thanks, Mr. GP. Another question. Okay. Message for Dubai attendees from Sharat. I think, okay. For all the people who are joining us from Dubai, here is the contact detail. Mr. Sharat has shared is our point of contact from Dubai. Feel free to reach out to him. Chandrakala, thank you so much. Sanskruti, thank you. Sanjay Shukla, sir, in case someone scored 3 out of 5, then that particular child can write AP next year to improve scores. Definitely, sir. You can write the AP next year again to improve the scores. Sangeeta, AP is for USA only, not UK, not Canada. No, Sangeeta, I think AP is for UK and for Canada as well. Just to give you an example, I have this student of mine this year who is going to Oxford. He got it, and he's from actually a state board, Karnataka board. He got a conditional offer from Oxford that if he can write 3 APs and get a certain score, he will have an offer. Otherwise, offer is rejected, right? I'm pretty sure some of you must be aware that UK is a conditional offer, right? US is unconditional offer. So UK is also very, very gung-ho about APs, because UK, as I told you in the very beginning, they're very, very gung-ho in general about the academics per se, right? So they're very, very passionate about the academics more than the profile building part. Pooja Panchal, website for AP selection. Pooja, I'll ask Ritvik to connect with you on this and answer. I'm still not very sure. I think you're talking about the 2 links which I have shared in the beginning. So don't worry. I think we will be sending out those links in the mail itself so that you guys can keep playing it around on your own and figure out the right AP. Can you share the possible easy AP course for computer science? This is from Subramanian. So Subramanian, there are only 2 AP courses. As I said, there's only one that you could write from India, which is AP Computer Science Principle, applications and not the principles. Abhilash, how many attempts can be taken for AP? As I said, you can write as many attempts as you want, Abhilash. Another question from Ben, how many hours of preparation is recommended? I think if you're talking about hours, we say 3 to 4 hours per week, which is spanning for about 6 to 7 months. That's the time commitment that we are looking at from us, from students. Another question from Ms. Sweetie, how can one apply for APs on their own? So Sweetie, you can go to College Board website, AP College Board website, and through that you can apply. You need to figure out the school in your city which is offering AP, and then you apply through the website. But finally, the fees is paid to the school. That's how it sort of works. Feel free to again reach out to us or visit our blogs. We have a blog on this in terms of how you apply for APs. Another question from Sai, will Khan Academy and a few full-length practices alone be sufficient preparation to write AP exam? Difficult to say, Sai. It depends from student to student, but I think that could be a good starting point, as I said in the beginning. I would say the first step could be let the child go through the curriculum, see what are the topics, and then see is the child okay to kind of prep on their own. I strongly believe the only reason why one needs to take an additional help is just to get the structure right? Because when you are in a program, you're being forced to kind of keep doing it every day or every week. And just by the virtue of you being in that structure, you are able to do well. Unlike, when you're doing a self-prep, you end up procrastinating and something or the other comes up and you find it difficult. And, towards the end, you realize that, everything is left right now, right? So that's the only thing that you really need to look at. Otherwise, student can go back and look at these resources and decide. Another question from Prasan, do you have the exact dates in May for the exam? No, Prasan, the exact dates are not yet announced. It generally happens in the second week. Another question from Raki, we are doing IB board with biochem to keep India option of NEET open. We are planning to give physics AP. Which standard should we do, 11th or 12th? You're planning to give physics AP. Can you also help me understand? You want to do physics AP for what? For admission outside of India? I'm assuming if that's the case, then you have to do it in grade 11th because grade 12th is too late, right? Because by the time you would already have your admissions done.
We are actually targeting international admissions only.
Okay.
But just as a backup to keep the India option open, we wanted to give NEET just as a backup.
Right.
And we wanted to give physics AP.
Right. So Raki, for US, you have to make sure you're done with all your APs in grade 11th end only, right? Because you can do it after grade 12, because by the time you would have received all your results, right? So you'll have
we're
to
not targeting US. We are targeting essentially Australia, New Zealand, in UK. Those are the top 3 countries that we're targeting.
Got it. Even in that case, it has to be 11 because in any of these countries, excluding India, the admission process actually gets over way before you graduate from grade 12, right?
Okay. So we'll have to enroll now in November.
That's right, correct. And do it in the upcoming May, if the child is in grade 11th right now. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. Sure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Raki. Another question from Sangeeta. What is the important benefit of AP Scholar and AP Honors? And a +1 from Mr. Pushpai. There's no, so again, Sangeeta, it's all about writing in your essays, right? So you are basically showing it to the college that, hey, you know what, I'm an AP Scholar, I'm an AP Honor. So indirectly, you are telling college, saying that I've done 3 APs and I've scored well in those, or I've done 4 APs and I've scored well in those, right? So I think that's the only importance or the benefit of being an AP Scholar or AP Honors overall, right? So for you to kind of show and tell, right? So you're basically writing it on college application process and in your essays, you're mentioning it out. Another question from Gia Watson. Good morning, sir. My daughter was born in US, but she did most of her schooling in India. She's 14-year-old and topper in class 9, also topper in class 10th. She has an extraordinary extracurricular and co-curricular. Her profile is excellent. She's in 11th grade now and taking her DSAT on August 26th. She wants to take the pre-med track in undergrad. So she wants to take a couple of APs in May 2024. Thinking of a bio AP calculus BC. She might need some classes. I would like to know some details on group class 1-on-1. Please let me know the fees. First of all, congrats on your daughter's amazing scores, Gia. Ritvik, please note this name, Gia Watson. Gia, I would request if you can drop a message to Mr. Ritvik on WhatsApp or regular message. He'll immediately after this meeting reach out to you and take the discussion forward and explain you everything. Thank you. Another question from Pooja. My kid in grade 9 is interested in computer science, wanting to do computer science, some engineering course, not decided as yet. Still, he should go for AP in statistics, psychology, and not AP in maths, physics. That's right, Pooja. As I said, maths and physics in grade 9 is going to be super difficult. I wouldn't recommend that. Let him do that. Let the child do these courses later. In grade 9, let him do psychology, world history, statistics, computer science, these kind of APs, which are slightly easier APs. To handle when you're in grade 9th and 10th. And that's what I said, that it is a very, very personalized process where we need to figure out the grade, we need to figure out the major, and then work backwards from there in terms of what is the right AP so that A, student is able to do it, and B, they're able to do well in that AP, right? I can ask you to do AP calculus, but I know at this stage for grade 9, it's not the right choice. It will be really, really difficult for the child. What is the difference in PSAT and SAT? Sudhi, I want to keep the discussion for the APs if you don't mind. What we will do is you can feel free to reach out to one of our, one of my teammates. They'll be able to guide you towards my previous webinar where we spoke about the PSAT and SATs. Dakshini, great session, Rajdeep Bandin. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Jasprit, thanks for an insightful session. Thank you, Jasprit. Prerna, can Indian students not take AP pre-calculus? You cannot take AP pre-calculus, right? I mean, it's not being offered. AP pre-calculus is offered only in the school. You can't do it outside of school. So yes, you can't do that. Crafting careers, thanks, informative session. Great. Shiva.
Excuse me, sir.
Sorry, who's this?
Rajiv, sir, good morning. This is Abhishek from Lucknow.
Hi, Abhishek.
Sir, I wanted to know just that this is the pre-calculus which is being offered from the college board for the first time. And as you mentioned just now that for a child of class 9, he should not go for the AP calculus. So can the child of class 9, can he go for the AP pre-calculus?
AP pre-calculus is not offered as a private candidate, Mr. Abhishek. That's what I was trying to explain.
So, so as you mentioned just now that it is being offered from the college or how?
In US. In US, it is offered by the school directly. AP pre-calculus is only, can only be done if you are in US schools where they offer pre-calculus within the school itself.
Okay, sir, is there any school in India which is taking or time from the college board and they are providing with the AP pre-calculus?
No, there's nothing, Abhishek.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I know you had raised hand earlier as well. You want to
for the
continue and finish your question? Same question.
For the same question I wanted to ask.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Thanks, Abhishek. Shiva, very beneficial and informative session. Thank you, Shiva. Pushpa, is there any special benefit of taking honors or scholars? I hope I've answered that question just now. I think someone else has asked that question, Pushpa. Samir, if you take engineering and take world history AP, would there be college credits available? Great question, Samir. Yes, so I think now when you do a world history and you're looking at engineering, you may not get any college credits, right? Because world history is not mandatory for an engineer to do. Now you're purely doing it for your college application process. You're purely doing it to stand out in your application process. So I think that's the difference, right? So you have to be very, very clear why are you doing it? And hence I've been emphasizing on it that unless you are very, very clear why are you doing it, you will not be able to pick the right set of subjects, right? So AP world history for an engineering student is purely from profile building perspective, purely from standing out in application perspective. It has nothing to do with college credits. Thanks for that question, Samir. Sangeeta, thank you. It's been an amazing and informative session. Thanks, Sangeeta, for your feedback. Shiva, can you throw some light on AP course test itself? What's the duration, MCQ versus essay score, etc.? I think we did discuss this, Shiva, when we talk about the AP exam structures. So I think duration of the course varies from subject to subject. It could be anywhere between 2 hours to 3 hours, 3.5 hour long exam. You have MCQs plus you have free response question. And as I said, scoring is on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the lowest. So that's what I've also covered in the past during the webinar. Rajesh, hello Rajdeep. Beyond helping students prepare for AP courses and academics, would your company also help students build a strong profile for US top colleges? I mean, including extracurricular essay writing. Thanks, Rajesh, for asking that question. We don't directly do it, but we do work with certain students and guide them, connect them with the right set of people who, since we have been in this industry for 7 years now. So yes, you can reach out to me on my number. The first number here on your screen, 8123829822. That's my number. Please feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to answer and direct you to the right person. And that message from Prasan, my nephew got into MIT this year and has taken 12 APs. Congrats, Prasan. And can you also help us understand, was he from India or from US itself? That would also probably help the entire audience.
Yeah, he was from US, from North Carolina.
Correct.
And
So
his portfolio, I'll just take 30 seconds. His portfolio was solid. There's no doubt. I mean, he won so many regional fairs, national awards, some international competitions too, IEEE paper. So I think overall his profile was so good that he got early, I think they have some early admission or something, right? Early decision.
Yeah, ED. It's called ED, early decision, which is binding in nature. Yeah. Correct. So that's the thing, right? Thanks, Prasan, for pointing that out. And you're right. 12 APs, 10 APs, 8 APs is only possible when you're in US because you're doing it along with your school. So you do 2, 3, 9. So we have students in US who are working with us, and they are doing 8 APs, 9 APs, 10 APs, right? Because instead of doing your regular school subjects, you're doing AP as a subject. So it's not an add-on burden for them. So they are definitely been able to do it. Right.
My simple question to you, Radeep, is in India, is it 4 is comfortable or?
4 is a good number. 4 is definitely a good number. Can you do more? So, I mean, right before this meeting, I had other call where the child is in grade 10. He's already done with 4. And I'm talking about India and I'm talking about the CBSE background student. Right. So again, it's all about competition, Prasan, right? I mean, I'm sure you have seen your nephew's profile, so you know it better, how things are, right? So the only student from ReWiser, who I have worked with, helped him, who has gone into MIT. There's only one student in the last 7 years. And this child it's not like he had an extraordinary anything, right? His AP calculus was also 4 on 5. He did 3, 4 APs, 2, 3 APs only, right? But he won the breakthrough challenge. I don't know how many of you know, Khan Academy runs this challenge called Breakthrough Challenge, where you have to create a 2-minute video explaining any science concept. And if you win it, it's a highly prestigious award. So he actually got admitted into MIT just because of that competition, nothing else, right? So I think, as I said, US admissions are very, very different as a process. You try and do the best that you can from your end and then see, what comes your way, right? You cannot be confident with N number of APs and N number, whatever your profile will have, because it also depends on a lot of other parameters which colleges will look for that particular year. It can continue to evolve and change every year as well. Great. Coming back to the questions, I have another question from Maya Ravi. 2 AP in grade 11, then 2 more in grade 12. No, 2 in grade 12 will not really help because, they will not help in the college application, right? Because you can't write to the college because you are applying to college while you are in grade 12. So when you're in August, September timeframe, in grade 12, you will start applying. So those 2 APs in grade 12 will not count in your college application. So hence, either you do it early or you start, if the child is already in grade 11, then only target 2. Don't overstretch yourself and think about 3 and 4 is what I would advise. I hope that answers the question, Maya. Another question from Naru. Do schools help with APs? Not at all. Most of the schools will not even know about APs, honestly. And the question from Crafting Careers, what is your fee structure? Do you help in application with essays as well? If so, fees for that? No, we don't do the application with essays. What is your fee structure? Sorry, I don't have your name. So I think maybe can you reach out to Mr. Ritwik and he'll be able to help you out, fee structure, because fee structure, as I said, will vary from course to course. Another question from Sanskrit Krita. If you take AP in 12th grade, will it not be accepted once you enroll? So get some credits added. Definitely. That's what I said. When you're doing it in grade 12, you are doing it purely for credit purpose. You will definitely get college credits. I have a lot of students who know which college they're going to. So based on the course, based on that, they figure out which are the APs. They do that in grade 12 because they have a lot of free time as well. and get college credits. So you can definitely do that for college credit, but it will not be accounted towards your admission process. Pushpai, if we are already in 12th, does it help taking AP as our admission process? Will it be done before the AP exam in May? No, not at all. Not at all, Pushpai. It's not helpful at all, because if you are already in 12th now, that means you have to start applying in the next 2 months. You don't have any time right now. You should start applying to the colleges in the next 2 months. Forget about APs completely. After you're done with your admission, maybe in the summer break, the child can do the APs for the college credit purposes. Another question from Prasan, taking APs in 12th grade to the ones missed in 11th, if you score well, do you get college credit for AP courses? Definitely. Yes, I think I answered that question, Prasan. You do get college credit, and that's one of the reasons why people also do it in grade 12th, even if you have missed it. Jia, sure, thank you. Shiva, thank you. Pushpai, will AP English be given credit after joining for engineering students? That's right. And again, as I said, please go to those specific links and figure out the college and the major, because it varies from college to college. There is no standard formula. One college might give you credit, the other might not. Another question from Sangeeta, do we give AP from standing out point of view versus actually acquiring expertise in your chosen field? How do the application officer look at it favorably? I wish I know this answer, Sangeeta. I think you need to figure out why you are writing it, right? So in some cases, you are largely doing it for standing out point of view, not really from the expertise. You're just an exam. I don't know, what sort of expertise you'll probably get in that field. So I would say you're largely doing it for standing out in the application process. On the way, you also get college credits, which is a great thing. Another question from Shiva, same as one question about, does economics give college credit for engineering students? So Shiva, it again varies from college to college, because there are economics can be done as a STEM and a non-STEM, right? So it also varies within the college. Within the college, which school are you opting for? So it's a very, very sort of broad thing. You need to go to that college, put the college name, put the major, and it'll tell you whether they accept that APs or not, or for credits or not. Another question from Sanskrita. Does AP credits help to directly and proportionally reduce the time to graduate, or how does that work? That's right. Yeah, I think that's what we discussed, right? If one of the benefit of doing this is you can graduate early, right? If you've done an AP course when you are in school itself, you have gotten certain credits. Remember, we took an example of Stanford, right? Where Stanford AP Calculus BC, if you're doing, you get 10 college credits and you can skip 3 courses. So obviously you can graduate early, because in place of these 3 courses, you can actually take some other courses. So yes, it definitely helps you to reduce the time to graduate. Though, because you are paying for every credit-wise, you will end up paying everything. But at least from the perspective of cost of living, you will save. You can graduate early. Perfect. I think these are all the questions that I've had. Any other questions that we can answer here? Pooja, have more questions, need to call back later. Definitely, Pooja. I think Ritvik has shared his number. Please feel free to reach out to him. He'll be the second number, 7989764083. The second number on your screen is Ritvik's number. Please feel free to reach out to him. He's the right person. He'll be able to help you, guide you, give you more information. Maya, thank you. Thanks, Pushpai. Very information useful session. Great one. Thanks. Thanks, Pushpai. Glad it was useful. Thank you for the informative session. Thanks for the insight. Great. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining in on a Saturday morning. I hope it was useful, worth a while of your time. We will be sharing a recording of this webinar. Feel free to go back to this maybe one more time, might give you more clarity. And if in case you still have further questions, feel free to reach out to us. Happy to answer any questions that you have. Happy to sit with you one-on-one and sort of help you figure out what's the right AP, when should you take it. Should you take it? Should you not take it? I think that's the most important question that we need to really figure out. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye. Take care.